Joe, told me you wanted to get to the LSU class,
yes.
The first class under Lane Kiffin. I did not suggest this, but you told me that we needed to get to him. So I said, okay, well, I'm talking about it already tonight. Let's get to it with you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you did not hold me hostage. I texted you. I said, we got to talk about this LSU class. I don't think people understand how difficult it is timing-wise for Lane Kiffin to have stepped in on Monday with all of the distractions, all of the craziness. I guess it was Sunday, actually, with everything that was going on, and to have not allowed any big-name guys to decommit. This was part of what we talked about, the value of taking over LSU. You're taking over a brand where guys in the state and also in the area that take a ton of pride in representing. It is just so huge to have that power. And Kiffin already stepped in and took advantage of it. Kiffin hasn't exactly always been regarded as a premier recruiter, but I think that this plays into the fact that he understood what he needs to do from day one in order to hit the ground running. This is a massive accomplishment. I think that the without a doubt biggest part, to keep Lamar Brown committed with the whole saga during the summer, with him getting approached by Texas A&M. Everybody thought he was going to end up at Texas A&M. He was public about his interest in Texas A&M, and he decided to stay home, literally in his backyard, to go to LSU. To keep him in the mix, I think that Lamar Brown's one of those types of prospects, one of those types of players that is tone setting. That is one of your biggest name guys who comes in right off the jump. That is a kid that immediately hits the ground and gets on the field early and really establishes what your brand is going to be. I don't know if he plays O-line or D-line. I think he's great at both. Yeah, I think he's probably going to be a D tackle because there's more money to be had there in the NFL. But the kid is a crazy, crazy athlete for his size.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought that if he played center, he might be an elite center. And you can't go wrong with an elite center. So listen, in reference to LSU, Richard Anderson, they were able to hold on there. There's a lot of scuttlebutt last night that him and Lamar Brown were going to decommit. Joe, that was basically my entire job last night and today. Are these two going to decommit? But potentially what LSU has done here, they've gotten the number 1 and number 2 defensive tackles committed. Can they hold on? You got the number 5 player in the state of Georgia, and Deuce Gerald's that committed. He pushed his signing back to Friday. Can you hold on to him? Trenton Henderson, can you hold on to him? Joe, if they can, then they're going to be doing some good things. Can they hold on to Bryson Cooley, who's a big man out of Laurel, Mississippi, even though Bama is pushing very hard late? If Lane can hold on here and they can show what they've been saying in this entire coaching carousel, Lane went to the podium and said, nobody presented me a better NIL situation better than LSU. Well, Richard Anderson last night was decommitting. It was happening until Richard Anderson said that he drove from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, and Lane Kiffin was there until 3 a.m. this morning, constantly on the phone, trying to make sure that these kids went there. I thought he didn't recruit. Now, Joe, I can confirm that he was there at 3 a.m. with his GM, Billy Glasscock, but everybody wants to talk about the bad and negative things with Lane Kiffin. Do you forget what happened at USC? Do you forget those recruiting classes there? I will remind everybody, if LSU – so there's a couple of things here, Joe, that I want to make very clear. When LSU – see, everybody listens. Everybody hears what's going on in the coaching carousel. Stay with me here, because this is what happened. When you go out there and say that you got all this money to spend in NIL, boy, people want to start renegotiating. This is a byproduct of LSU and all the reporting that happened in the coaching carousel. I'll talk about that in great detail tonight. But interesting, nobody decommitted, huh? Now, they're in a dogfight, and I'm not saying that people are not going to decommit. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Bama was coming very hard after Bryson Cooley today with bags of cash. Why didn't he decommit? We'll see. I think Purder, the safety, I do think he heads to Florida. But, Joe, they dominated along the defensive line. They got to get all of them signed. And if they do, it's going to be a top premier class. Oh, and by the way, they're not done. So when you come up here Friday and you're like, wait a minute, y'all didn't have a quarterback committed in this class. Hey, wait a minute, you didn't have a running back committed in this class. All I'm going to say is maybe Lane Kiffin did make the right decision.
Can I ask you a question? Because there is a certain receiver recruit who decommitted from a big program who likes to play basketball.
So glad that you asked.
I heard that LSU was now in the mix. Is that true? I know Miami's also in for Calvin Russell. Do you think that that's a possibility?
Oh, it's not just him, my good sir.
Okay.
Chris Henry, Chase Matthews. Oh, and all of a sudden, Calvin Russell. LSU's name is coming out of nowhere, isn't it? I don't find that to be funny. Neither do they. Because when Lane Kiffin took the job, I have been told that maybe they weren't the ones that were calling the recruits. The recruits started calling them and saying, what's up? I don't know your late in this process. Joe, you're basically getting hired on signing day. I don't know if they're going to be able to flip and hold on to some of these kids and do some of the unthinkable. However, all I will say is it's starting to turn a lot of heads. If they land one of them and flip one of them,
yeah.
I just be careful. Now, I think Chase Matthews, who is currently committed to Auburn, is going to start getting interesting here. Lane really likes him. I think Chris Henry, I think Chris Henry might be leaning more towards USC. That's neither here nor there, but one of these top wide receivers might wind up flipping. By the way, they got Jabari Mack. They also got Corey Barber. You're talking about three guys that are in the top 25 at their position. So Lane was able to do some really good things. Let's see if he can close there.
Yeah, that's absolutely nuts. I wanted to bring this up because it sounds like there's a lot of potential smoke for this to go in that direction, for them to finish this class already off to a good start, keeping a lot of these guys committed, nobody decommitting. Again, stuff can obviously change, but for the momentum to be in the complete opposite direction, as you're mentioning, that now there are these players that are doubting their current standings because of some coordinator moves, some coaching moves, that LSU has immediately injected them into things. For anyone who is questioned, why would Lane Kiffin leave to go to LSU? This is already evidence of that. It is the firmest evidence that we possibly could have been given.
Got to close. Got to get these kids signed.
Yeah.
But it's been a very wild 48 hours. All right. Joe, let's move on here from recruiting. Want to get to any of these losers? I know we wanted to talk about Ohio State and Penn State, but what are your thoughts?
Why don't we just hit on Ohio State so we don't miss that? Because I think that this is it's a pretty big issue.